when they get together and create a product, whether you like it or not, that product is making money. Brian Cox of the shaded the DGA. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about that now. Because the Directors Guild, of course, Christopher Nolan is a part of it, but, you know, he's got a better take. The Directors Guild famously immediately negotiated while the WGA strikes were happening, and they settled. They were like, we're good, which everyone was expecting for the record. And a lot of people were even expecting SAG-AFTRA to also come to a good conclusion. Let's watch.
That's the biggest problem, is that the residuals go down and they're paying less and less. Now, in a way, the kind of streaming services have shot themselves in the foot because they said, oh, we're doing very well on this front, very well on this front. And when we called them to task and said, well, look, you know, what about our residuals? What about our money? Of course, now everything kind of closes down and says, well, you know, it's not going to happen. And that helped precipitate the SAG strike. But also the SAG strike, I say, was very much in support of the WGA, unlike the Directors Guild, who did not support the WGA, which I find astonishing. That's the biggest problem, is that the residuals go down and they're paying less and less. Now, in a way, the kind of streaming services have shot themselves in the foot because they said, oh, we're doing very well on this front, very well on this front. And when we called them to task and said, well, look, you know, what about our residuals? What about our money? Of course, now everything kind of closes down and says, well, you know, it's not going to happen. And that helped precipitate the SAG strike. But also the SAG strike, I say, was very much in support of the WGA, unlike the Directors Guild.
Are the Teamsters not working at all, or just not crossing lines? Genuine question. So remember, each individual union has a different bargaining committee. They have different leadership, and they have different rank and file. And the timeline of their negotiations and their contracts can sometimes overlap, like it does with the DGA, SAG-AFTRA, and the WGA. But in other circumstances, it might not. But one of the things that you have to always do if you're a union is you have to fulfill the terms of your contract on your own end. So that's precisely the reason why sometimes, especially unions that aren't as powerful as the Teamsters, will continue working. Like IATSE, often will continue working even if there is a strike happening on the site. It's technically not considered scabbing because they're a union and that's their contract, right? Now, having said that, Teamsters, probably one of the most powerful union in the nation, both due to what they do, logistics. It's irreplaceable because you can't literally scab a truck and a truck driver, right? And also due to how big they are, how much runway they have, how big their strike funds are, how influential they are throughout their history. So Teamsters can get away with saying Teamsters do not cross picket lines. They are notorious for never crossing picket lines. So what that means is if there are two people striking, if it's the WGA, if it's SAG-AFTRA, it doesn't matter. If there are two people picketing outside of a business, Teamsters will not bring their trucks on site. Bro, you out of breath? I'm walking a little bit faster today than yesterday because I want to get more used to walking at a faster pace and talking at the same time. Chris Stuckmann has a good take on this. What is this?
What's going on, guys? So it's been a while since I've done a discussion video. The WGA and SAG are all striking right now. The DGA, the directors, they were able to work out a deal, but writers and actors are striking. Fran Drescher of the Nanny fame is president of SAG, and she made an impassioned speech about the difficulties of even trying to negotiate with Hollywood. This is historic for many reasons, and I'm making a video about it because I've seen a lot of misconceptions floating around the internet, surprise, surprise, and I figured a guy wearing a Pikachu shirt should set things straight. The writers have been striking now for over 70 days. And just to be clear, I am not yet a member of the WGA, but when my film Shelby Oaks comes out, I will finally be eligible. And so I will likely become a member at that time. So I don't have any, reason necessarily to make this video other than to sort of talk about a few things, especially with SAG right now, that I've been thinking about, that I think people should understand and that should be part of the conversation. Because when the writers began to strike, I saw a lot of concerning comments spread around the internet, namely, movies suck now, so why should writers be paid? They should learn to write better, all that kind of bullshit, to be completely honest. And the truth of the matter is, movies don't suck right now at all. I mean, didn't everyone pretty much like Top Gun Maverick, or Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, or John Wick Chapter 4? These are all WG.
And also, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they suck or not. This is subjective. Don't matter. It's not about whether you like it or not. It's about how much value is that movie creating for the people at the top. That value is created by those in production, staffers, PAs, key grips, best boys, lighting and sound techs, actors, and also writers and directors, to name a few. Okay? These are the people that make the value. Without them, you don't have a movie. Gaffers. What's a best boy? All of those are just production terms. Anyway, listen. Without these guys, there is no movie. There's just no movie whatsoever. When they get together and create a product, whether you like it or not, that product is making money. Okay? It's creating value. Now, some of that, people sit around and figure out how much money that's going to potentially make for the studio. They pay you an hourly wage beforehand, before the movie gets released. And then on top of that, you can get residuals, points, yada, yada, like a percentage of the merchandise, percentage of the IP, that sort of thing. A lot of that stuff is discussed beforehand. And in many circumstances, due to Hollywood accounting, which we talked about yesterday, a lot of those points amount to nada, because studios don't want to pay additional money to their writers and their actors. People in IATSE, they don't even see the points in general. They do sometimes see residuals. But for a lot of people that are working in the production side, they don't even get to see a percentage of that. Now, why am I mentioning all this over and over again? Because, like I said, it has nothing to do with whether you like the movie or not, and everything to do with how much money did that writer create, how much value did that individual writer or that individual actor create for the process. Clawing that back from the studio executives and the shareholders is at the heart of this process. That is what's going on right now. So let's continue.
Written productions. Just because aspects of some movies aren't great does not mean that people who work shouldn't be paid. Come on, man. When people think of these guilds, whether it's the DGA, the WGA, SAG, they tend to think of like the most famous people in them. When they think of actors, they think of Brad Pitt or Keanu Reeves, George Clooney, Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington. They think of these mega rich, incredibly successful celebrities. But those are not the only people that are part of SAG. There are people right here in Ohio who are members of SAG, who do work like bartender roles, or a customer at a restaurant, or someone walking around in the background. Not everyone is SAG. Some people are non-union or SAG eligible, but there are plenty of actors who are part of that union, and they do not have a livable wage. Not even close. And when it comes to the WGA, writers are historically undervalued. I can tell you that from personal experience. I've had really a hard time getting my first film off the ground. Before Shelby Oaks, there were many other almosts that happened that I've never talked about. I have done countless rewrites on films that came really close to happening, unpaid, every single time. I've worked for months and months and months on scripts with producers who are millionaires who wanted to get one of my films made. Never saw a cent and was treated like trash the whole time. None of my work was respected, and I was constantly asked to do the most insane, stupefying rewrites that would blow your mind. This is totally normal for writers. They go through this shit all the time. They sit there trying to figure out how to get a film made because they love this craft and they love movies so much, and they constantly have to deal with people who are far richer and far more powerful than they are to make that happen. And so they're in a constant state of placating someone who is considered better than them and who knows it and who will use that mentality that they are powerful and better than them to control a writer and make them feel like trash. And it happens all the time. And the WGA is 100% striking for a good reason. But I think the biggest thing and the number one reason I wanted to make this video that is extremely alarming about what Hollywood was proposing to SAG and what SAG said no fucking way to was this idea of owning a background actor's likeness digitally. So in a movie, if you have a crowd scene or you need a bunch of people to fill out a room, that's background actors. In the past, they were normally referred to as extras, which is a somewhat demeaning title, and so background actor sounds a little better. These people make your shot look good. They fill it out. They make it seem like you're in a real space, especially in big movies where you're at stores or events or a concert or something along those lines. Background actors are absolutely necessary. In some cases, it's CGI, like if it's a battlefield in Troy or the Lord of the Rings or something, but that's understandable. But according to SAG, what studios were saying was that they would like to hire a background actor.
Here you go. I have the heart rate monitor up. For those 115 for walking at like a relatively fast pace is not that bad. What are you talking about? People are so weird. I forget that like people just oftentimes I forget that people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So they just like literally freak out in the chat as though it's like something freak outable, and then they make me second guess myself. Not only am I walking, and I've walked almost a mile so far, 0.8 miles since I started walking at my pace. I'm also talking at the same time. You say dumb shit to inflate your ego when you call us out. It's actually a pretty good heart rate, I would say. 90 to 100 walking BPM is normal for most Olympic runners. Yeah, I'm not like the most. I have pretty decent cardio for how big I am. I'm a big boy. I'm 245, 46 pounds. And I have pretty good cardio for it now. I wouldn't say that a year ago. But I can play multiple back-to-back full-court pickup basketball games in a row, which is pretty good for someone who's 32 years old and this big. So that's the reason why 115 while I'm talking and walking at like a pace that's, I wouldn't say slow, definitely faster than my regular walking pace is pretty good. Let's continue.
Actor for one day, meaning a day rate, whatever it might be, probably somewhere around $200 to $300. scan their likeness, and then excuse them from work and not need them ever again. But then, and this is the scary part, they would own that actor's likeness forever. And they could just keep using that digital likeness of somebody in background scenes of all of their movies whenever they wanted. Not that I need an analogy for how crazy that is, but I'm going to do one anyway. I wrote about this on my Instagram already, so if you follow me there, you would have seen this. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck got their start doing background work as actors. They're in the movie Field of Dreams somewhere in the Fenway Park scene. They've talked about this a lot in interviews, how much fun they've had and how impactful that was for them. And that experience continued to lead to other background work, and eventually School Ties came around, and Saving Private Ryan, and Bourne Identity, and Ben Affleck's Oscar-winning career as a director, and all of that great stuff. But let's just for a second imagine that this modern-day technology that studios are trying to push on people existed back in 1989. And Matt Damon and Ben Affleck did one day for the Fenway Park scene, and then had their likenesses scanned, and they signed that away forever. And then they don't come back for a second day.
Let's be real. Those boys are, they're not the most tech savvy. At least that's my copium for why Matt Damon did a dumbass NFT crypto ad. You know what I mean?
Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones just hang out on set with a few background actors who are actually there, knowing that the rest of it is just going to be filled out with these new scans that they've just acquired. And Universal, who made Field of Dreams, would now own Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's likeness forever in perpetuity. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wow, they could really take advantage of that. Except that's actually not what I'm saying. Because I don't think Matt Damon and Ben Affleck would have actually gotten famous had this technology existed. Because they would have owned their likeness, which means that if Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wanted to continue to do background work after Field of Dreams, Universal would have been like, no, we already scanned you. We don't need you for any more work. Oh, okay, well, there's some background work here for this production. That's Warner Brothers. Let me go over there and do some background work for this Warner Brothers movie. Oh, no, sorry. Universal actually owns your likeness. We can't work with you because your likeness has been signed away to Universal. Oh, so like, what do I do? Did I just like do a day on Field of Dreams and I'm never going to work again? There are so many loopholes to what I just said that you could fill it with so much shit. It's insane how terrifying that notion is. And that would probably lead to Damon and Affleck never having made Good Will Hunting, Robin Williams never getting a Best Supporting Actor win, no Bourne Identity, nothing that Affleck ever did in the future, none of that would probably have happened because their careers would have ended right then because they signed their likeness away in a second to some studio that doesn't give a shit about them. I can't believe that an actor would be degraded to that level. These are people who make movies happen. Writers are just as important.
I want to point out something. I don't think anyone in any sector, in any field, should be degraded to that level. Not just Ben Affleck, not just Matt Damon, not just even the background extras, but anyone in any field. Because the problem is, this is a labor issue. Okay? This is yet another manifestation of the very real antagonistic relationship that capital owners have with those who are creating value, the laborers. They want to max out. They want to get the most amount of value out of you. They want you to work the most amount of hours with the least amount of pay. And the workers want to work the least amount of hours for the most amount of pay. It's understandable. This is normal, right? But there is no better way to dramatically change the nature of this relationship and get the most out of someone other than just stealing their likeness in this field. Same thing goes for any other sector. All the way from Uber drivers, delivery drivers, all the way to retail workers, and to actors, and even basketball players at the tippy top. That's how it works.
Important, in fact, more important. Without a writer, you don't have a movie. Writers, directors, actors, and especially crew are the people who get these movies made. All of these mega rich people who are sort of just profiting from the fact that other people are working very hard for them are terrified of losing like 2% of their money. And it's just absolutely, it's hilarious, to be completely honest. One day...
To be fair, though, 2% is a lot of money for those guys. It's so much money that it would quite literally change the lives of not one person, two people, but hundreds of people, thousands of people. That's why we use the example of CEO pay versus the average compensation of a person that works on the ground in the movie theater. You know what I mean? CEOs could pay for as many top of the hour ad break avoidance fees in the forms of gifted subs as they want to. Or can only pay for one. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, well, then all you need to do is subscribe. Which you can do for $5 or you can do for free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get 1 free Prime subscription. Baba Yaga, thank you for the 5 get the subs. You can also get gifted a sub. Like from Baba Yaga. This way, you can avoid the top of the hour ad break for free. But that requires luck. Here's the 3-minute ad break now, by the way. There it is, lads. There it fucking is. How many calories you burn walking yesterday? I don't know, because I'm going to end it here. I'm going to end the walking part of this. I'm going to go back down. Whew, that was great. I don't know how many calories I burned yesterday because I didn't have the watch until today. So we'll be able to see how many steps I walked today. We'll see how many calories are burned today. I'm excited to figure that out. But this sequence was a little bit over a mile in distance. I don't know what the... Oh, it just turned it off. Oops. I don't know what the how many calories this individual action was, though. What kind of treadmill is that? Here, I'm going to stop my heart rate as well. Quite a little bit. But the Apple Watch, for some reason, weirdly stopped it. I don't know why it stopped the... They stopped it at like 8 minutes. But I actually did an indoor walk sequence. But it actually did not set the workout adequately. And it stopped it at like 8 minutes for some reason. But I'm probably... I don't know. Turn off workout detection, maybe? No, it's not the problem. It needs to be strapped to your leg. No, it doesn't. Probably have to tell it that you kept walking to keep it going instead of auto track. I don't know. It won't register if your arms aren't moving. Your hands don't move at a desk. Oh, maybe. I didn't think about it like that. Apple Watch is stupid for fitness. Yeah, I'm learning. Like the Whoop would have absolutely auto-tracked it off of your heart rate. When your heart rate jumps up from your resting heart rate to like 100 plus, immediately it will start tracking. Like Whoop's auto-tracking isn't great either, but like it will literally track it as it tracks bodily vibrations, not just your wrist movement. Each step creates plenty of detectable vibrations. Yeah, you can start it before you can use it auto on the fitness app. I thought I started it manually, but I also don't know how the application works yet all too well. So I don't really know how to I don't really know how to like go back in the application somewhere and then like change it.
A very good comedy released by a very brave studio will be made about these past few months. I think it's really easy to look at these strikes from a surface level and just think, well, SAG is just mega famous people, right? Like Angelina Jolie or whatever. And no, it's not. It's everyday working people who love their art and love their craft who just can't get ahead in this industry. And it's the same with writers. I mean, not every writer is Aaron Sorkin. There's tons of people who are just struggling to get anything made and who can barely afford to make a living in Los Angeles or New York. This is why the cast of Oppenheimer left the premiere in solidarity with SAG, because all of them were starting actors once too. They all know what it feels like to be a struggling actor. Not a single one of them was just birthed into being famous and incredibly talented. And this is what we're dealing with.
Sorry.
And I really would love if more people understood that. I mean, you have to understand that former strikes are why writers have health care, are why certain things that we look at as normal now, it's because somebody back in the day didn't get paid for a long fucking time on a strike. And that's exactly what this strike is going to do for writers and actors. At some point in the future, 30 years from now, there's going to be a very normal thing that everyone has because of these strikes. It might not seem that way now. It might seem like it's taking a while now, but in the future, the people who are reaping the benefits of this strike are going to be very happy that this strike is happening. Those are my thoughts on all this craziness. Nobody on either side wants a strike to happen. I don't think.
Society can only prosper when old men plant seeds for trees they will never sit in the shades of. Why I do the things I do, and that's why I urge you to do the things that you do. And like it or not, that process of trying to set up labor organizing in your workplace, engaging in local activism, engaging in mutual aid. The fake treadmill who's doing moonwalking. I feel like none of you guys give a shit, though, about any of that, and you only care about the fucking treadmill. Oh, my God. We will eventually get over it. Get Murat to put 2 wheels in front of the treadmill so you can trolley it. No, I do have 2 wheels in front of it. People have a tendency to mistake manufacturing jobs being good for union jobs being good. Ask people at the Flint sit-down strike if their jobs were good. They need more unionization in this country. It's the only way to improve life for the vast majority of people. I hate when people talk shit about unions and think their benefits are just company goodwill. Yeah, well, technically, without unions and without prior labor organizing and collective action, it is up to the bosses and their goodwill. You know what I mean? So they're not wrong. But the reason why you have any kind of benefits that you have, and this includes, some of you might find this to be strange, but it literally includes no child labor, even though we're kind of unwinding those child labor restrictions, or things like the weekend, come from labor action of the past. And they've become permanent staples in the way that we exist, in the way that we understand the world to exist. The 8-hour workday is yet another concept. Bro, I have a genuine question. I'm a skinny person, but I have belly fat. So what should I do, bro? Help me. I need your fitness expertise. Please, bro, help me. Yeah, you're skinny fat. Fucking work out. Here you go. This is the AFL-CIO talking sheet. Thank a union for weekends, paid vacation, paid sick leave, child labor laws, Social Security, minimum wage, 8-hour workday, overtime pay, health and safety, OSHA, healthcare, dental, vision, collective bargaining, breaks, wrongful termination laws, age discrimination laws, raises, sexual harassment laws, American Disabilities Act, holiday pay, military leave, Equal Pay Act, civil rights, workers' comp.